A man rode his horse past a hanging corpse, its entire head wrapped in a black cloth. He felt no surprise. Such sights were all too common in the West. Nearby, there was only one tavern with its lights on. When he pushed open the door, he found 4 men playing cards. The bartender silently poured a glass of whiskey. The man sensed something was off. There were too few people around. The bartender explained that the number of patrons varied daily, sometimes many, sometimes few. The man walked over to the card table. The 4 men looked up in surprise, and one old man called out his name. It was Dickert. He wasn't shocked. After all, he was a renowned gunslinger, known as the Grim Reaper of the West. Hearing this, the men smiled. Dickert turned back to the bar, wondering who the man hanging on the hill was. The bartender claimed he was some murderous gunman, and even if he had a name, it didn't matter. Dickert felt a pang of regret. That was a rare hanging. If the corpse had been swinging, it would have been even more interesting. The bartender noticed Dickert's fascination with death, and Dickert didn't deny it. He had a knack for causing it. Just then, a clock chimed. All 4 men glanced at it. It was exactly 9 o'clock. The man in the white hat took a deep breath, and the old man reminded everyone the time had come. He seemed to have made up his mind and was about to stand and leave. Suddenly, Dickert recognized the white-haired man's name, McKinley. But he had heard McKinley was ambushed outside a bar and shot in the back of the head. That must have been a rumor. He felt relieved. McKinley explained the facts plainly and warned Dickert not to get too worked up. Dickert was confused, watching as McKinley opened the door and stepped outside. Then came a gunshot, the sound of a bullet hitting someone in the back of the head. The old man said he was a doctor, and based on his expertise, a shotgun blast to the back of the head was an instant kill. He didn't even need to see to know. Curious, Dickert peeked outside. 2 burly men were carrying McKinley's body. The leader was preparing to bury him. The tavern now had an empty seat. The man in the brown hat invited Dickert to join the card game. He chose to sit but kept his guard up. Dickert suddenly recalled who the brown-hatted man was and couldn't believe he was still alive. He had seen him die with his own eyes. It was a scorching morning when a young quick-draw shouted for the brown-hatted man in the street. Auburn took just 2 seconds to take down Thor. Dickert jumped up in shock, thinking he must be feverish and hallucinating. He ordered the old man to get some medicine. The doctor said prescription drugs wouldn't help and suggested Dickert take off his gun, but Dickert ignored him. Once again, the clock chimed. It was 10 o'clock. Thor knew what that meant. Outside came the shout of a young man. He resolved to respond and flung open the tavern door. Blinding sunlight poured in. Dickert quickly asked who it was. Thor said it was Auburn, known for his fast shooting. As the door closed, darkness returned. Dickert wanted to run outside, but the doctor stopped him, saying there was nothing he could do and that he might as well sit and play some poker. At that moment, 2 gunshots rang out outside. The outcome was already known. Dickert still refused to believe it, thinking it was all a hallucination, and none of this had really happened. Then the clock chimed again. It was 11 o'clock. The quietest of the old men stood up. His name was Bennett, and it was clear it was his turn. Dickert was starting to lose it. Bennett was a notorious bank-robbing gunman with a pearl-handled pistol known for a trigger as fast as the wind. It had once been Bennett's pride. He had been surrounded by police in a bank and escaped to a small church. Just as he was climbing a ladder, he looked up and saw an officer with a rifle waiting for him. After saying this, Bennett didn't linger. Finally, the clock struck 12. Dickert already knew the outcome. The doctor, having saved too many villains, felt deep guilt. One night, he took a gun from a drawer and pulled the trigger himself, ending his own life. Then the doctor left. Outside, loud noises came from a jury's verdict. After Dickert's final kill, he remembered everything. Silently, he put on his hat. He would rather die than return here. But time was endless, and the bartender would always be waiting. Now Dickert rode by once more, looking at the familiar corpse. This time, he stopped and lifted the black cloth from the head, only to find the man was himself.